Okay, so before we get started on the notes for today, are there any questions over any of the assignments thus far? Any questions over any of the homework assignments? Problems you need to see done, work? Look that again. So what we're doing today is finishing up the note sheets that we started on Friday. Looks like we got through these two here. So the last thing we have, or last type of problem we're going to be looking at is modeling. Modeling with equations, with mathematics, finding equations and sort of solving some of the information. The first one we're looking at, 2 prom venues charge a rental fee plus a fee per student. The table shows the total cost for different number of students at Lakeside Inn. The total cost Y in dollars for X students at Sunview Resort is represented by this equation here. So we need to figure out 2 things. One, which venue charges less per student, and how many students must attend for the total cost to be the same. So the 2 things we need to figure out. Now, they already gave us one of the equations, y equals 10x plus 600. And this is for Sunview. So for Sunview, we have the equation. We also know how much they charge per student. How much are they charging per student? Well, charging $10 per student. The 600 part is just the initial fee, how much it's going to cost to use the venue. Now, for us to be able to say which one charges less, we need to figure out what the slope is, the cost per student of Lakeside Inn. And to do that, we're going to use the slope formula. Our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now we have 5 different points that we can use. And at this point here, we just need to figure out which one we want to use. So we will need a y value, so let's pick one. Which one of the y values do we want to use? 1500. It would go on top. And its corresponding x value is going to go on bottom, which is 100. So we picked one point. Now we need to pick another point. What's a different y value we can choose? Doesn't matter. 1800. We can just pick the first 2. And we pick its corresponding x value on bottom, which is 125. Now at this point here, we can either plug it into the calculator or solve it by hand. If we do this by hand, on top we're going to do 1500 minus 1800. Or another way to think of this is 15 minus 18, which would be negative 3. We put the zeros back. 1500 minus 1800 would be negative 300. We do the same thing on bottom. 100 minus 125 would be negative 25. At this point here, there we go. Negative 300 divided by negative 25. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. And this will be 12. Or we could type it in the calculator and we would get the exact same thing. And no matter which points we pick, we will still get 12. So instead of picking 1800 over 125, if we instead picked 2700 over 200, when we do the subtraction, we will get different amounts, because 1500 minus 2700 would be negative 1200. 100 minus 200 would be negative 100. but we'd still get a slope of positive 12. No matter what 2 points we pick, we're still going to get the same slope. Change in y over the change of x. Because the slope is constant, it will be the same amount no matter what we pick. So we just need to pick 2 y values and their corresponding 2 x values to go from there. Any questions on anything we've done so far? So we found that the slope of Lakeside Inn, the amount they're charging per student, is $12. So between Sunview and Lakeside, which charges less per student? Sunview, because they charge 10 per student. So Sunview is cheaper per student. Sunview is cheaper per student. All right. Now we need to figure out how many students must attend for the total cost to be the same. And for us to do this, there's different ways we can do it. One of them is kind of guess and check. We start plugging in the different amounts they gave us for Lakeside into Sunview, because we know Lakeside's cost at 100, 125, 150, 175, and 200. We can try plugging each one of those values in to our equation for Sunview and see if we get the same amount. It might also be that none of those work. So the alternative is going to get an equation for Lakeside and then compare those two equations to each other. Now for this here, we do not have the y-intercept for Lakeside Inn. We don't know what the cost is at 0 students, because if we knew that, we could just plug it in for B and make life easier. But we can still find this, and to find it, we're going to have to use point slope. Our y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We have to find this equation here to be able to find our overall equations to compare to the two. Now to do this, we need two things. One, we need the slope, and one other is the point. Now we have the slope is 12. Now we need to pick a point. We have 5 of them, and it doesn't matter which one we pick. So it's a y value we could use. Yeah, so we got 5 in that table, yes? Pick one of those values on that table. Yeah, that works. Because 1500 is a y value, its corresponding x is 100. Because as long as we pick one of those points on that table, it's going to work. Now we just need to get y by itself. And the first thing to do with that is make sure we don't have any double negatives. So when we plug the y value and x value in, if we have a minus negative, we're going to rewrite that as plus. Here we don't have it. So the first thing we'll want to do is simplify the parentheses on the right-hand side. So we're going to distribute that 12 through. Now our 12 times x is 12x. 12 times negative 100 would be negative 1200. We're just multiplying by 12. Questions on this so far? So we've simplified both sides. We multiplied through on the right-hand side. There's no parentheses left. Now we just need to get the y value by itself. And the only thing with y at the moment is the negative 1500. So to get it away from the y, we would add 1500 to both sides. And on the left-hand side, negative 1500 plus 1500 would be 0, leaving us with y equals. We didn't do anything with the 12x. We're not adding anything to it or subtracting anything from it, so it's just going to be 12x. But we do have to combine the negative 1200 and 1500. Negative 1200 plus 1500, 15 minus 12 would be positive 300. telling us that the equation is y equals 12x plus 300. Questions on this here? Now, I said it doesn't matter which point we pick, and it really doesn't. You do not have to rewrite this. I'm just going to work it again, just to kind of reiterate that point. Let's try it a third time. There we go. Because if I pick, say, 175 and 2400, our first step would still be the same. We're going to multiply through by 12. 12 times x is still 12x. But this time we're going to have to multiply 12 and 175. 12 times 175 is 2100. And this time, instead of adding our 1500 to both sides, we're going to add 2400. These would cancel, giving us y by itself again is equal to 12x plus, well, negative 2100 plus 2400, or minus 21 is still, no matter which point we pick, we will still get to the same equation. We just have to pick one of those points. But that does give us the equation for Lakeside Inn to calculate the number or overall cost per student. So we found that equation to be able to figure out how many students it takes for the two to be the same, yes? And the cost is y, or y variable. And we're looking for where the y value of both equations is the same for both Sunview and Lakeside. So we're really comparing these two here, and we want to know when these are the same. Really, we want to know what? When 12x plus 300 is equal to 10x plus 600. And these two are equal. And to find that, well, we can set these two equations equal to each other. Because if we want to know when they are the same or have the same value, we want to know when they are equal. And once we set them equal to each other, we need to solve for the value of x. We need to get x by itself. What's the first thing we can do to get x by itself? Well, we're trying to move stuff from one side to the other. We're either going to add or subtract at this point. What? Yeah, so we can move the 12 by subtracting it. Since 12 is positive, we're going to subtract 12x from both sides to get it to be 0 on one of the sides. Because on the left-hand side, 12x minus 12x is 0. So it leaves us with 300 is equal to 10x minus 12x are our like terms. 10 minus 12 is going to be negative 2x plus 600. So we have gotten the x's off the one side. We have them together on the right-hand side. Now we need to do a similar thing, but this time with our constants, our numbers. And to do that, we would move the 600 over by minusing it, subtracting it. Because on the right-hand side, we still have the negative 2x. But 600 minus 600 is 0. 300 minus 600 would be negative 300. So we have negative 300 is equal to negative 2x. We now have the x's on one side, numbers on the other. Now the only thing we have left with x is negative 2. Since they're being multiplied, we're going to have to do the opposite operation, which is division. And we'd have to divide both sides by negative 2. Now negative 2x divided by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 would be 1, so we would have x by itself. On the left-hand side, we have negative 300 divided by negative 2. Well, the negative and negatives make a positive, so we're really looking at 300 divided by 2. Half of 300 is 150. So how many students do we need to have for these two to be the same? 150. So it'd be 150 students. If 150 students were attending, which venue should we pick? Sunview or Lakeside? Doesn't matter. Because what do we say? At 150 students, the cost is the same, yes? So it doesn't matter. At 150 students, it's really, if we were picking between these two, it'd be really which one do we like better? Yes? If we are above 150, so 151 or 149, one of them would be more expensive, one of them would be cheaper, yes? Well, so 10 times 151 plus 600. So Sunview, if we had 151 students, would be $2,110. Lakeside, 1 plus 300. So as we can see here, Lakeside would be more expensive at 151 students. So would it really make a difference? No, at that point we're talking about $2. That's, yes, it is more expensive, but overall, it's not a big enough difference for us to really pick between one or the other. We just know at 150 they'd be the exact same. Because I'd really say if we get closer to, say, 250 students, 250 plus 3,100 as even at 250 students, we're only talking about $200. At that point, yes, there is a significant difference. If both venues are pretty much the exact same, we're going to save the $200. But if Lakeside was a nicer venue, that $200 might be worth it. Because at this point, $2 per student isn't making a huge difference until we start getting into the 500, huge amounts. Questions on how we did this? All right. Let's throw Maple Ridge into the mix. Maple Ridge charges a rental fee of $10 per student. The total cost is $1,900 if for 140 students. Describe the total number of students that must attend for the total cost at Maple Ridge to be less than the cost at the other two venues. So we need to figure out what the equation is for Maple Ridge so we can compare it to the other two. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So our slope for Maple Ridge would be 10, because that's just our cost per student. Now, unlike the last one, they kind of narrowed it down to a single point for us to use, which is $1,900 for 140 students. So y1 would be 1,900, x1 would be 140. First thing we can do is distribute the 10. 10 times x is going to be 10x. 10 times 140 would make it 1400. Now to get y by itself, we need to move the negative 1900. And to do that, we're going to add 1900 to both sides. These would cancel, telling us y is equal to 10x plus 500. You can rewrite those if you want, but I'd put them up there so we can see them all on the same page. So we're wanting to figure out how many students must attend for Maple to be cheaper than the other two, yes? What if I told you we don't even have to think about Sunview? So the rental cost, our y-intercept for Sunview is 600, yes? Maple is 500. So we're already starting off cheaper for the starting menu, yes? What are the two slopes? One of them's 10 and the other is for Maple? 10. They're both 10, yes? Slopes are the same. If two lines have the same slope, it means they are parallel. Parallel lines. Parallel lines never cross or intersect. So if Maple's already starting out cheaper and is parallel to Sunview, is there any point where Maple will become more expensive? No. So we're not even thinking about Sunview because it's cheaper, it's going to be more expensive than Maple regardless of what happens. So really we're just trying to see when Maple is going to be cheaper than Lakeside, because Maple's starting out at 500 bucks and Lakeside starting out at 300. So starting off at 0 students, Maple is going to be more expensive. So to figure out at what point it's not, we might figure out when they are equal. So to do that, we're going to take Maple's equation and set it equal to Lakeside. We're going to set the two equal to each other and solve. And to solve, we're trying to get x by itself and everything else on the other side. What can we do first? What can we move first to get x by itself and the numbers on the other side? Because there's 4 different things we can pick from. We can move the 10x over. We could subtract 10x from both sides, yes? Or we could do what? I could subtract 12x from both sides. Or I could subtract 500 from both sides. Or we could subtract 600 from both sides. It doesn't matter which one we pick first. We just have to figure out which one we want to do first. So if I wanted to, I could say, we're going to subtract 500 from both sides. It doesn't matter which one we pick. We just have to pick one to move. Because our 500 minus 500 would be 0, giving us 10x is equal to 12x minus 200. Now, once we pick something to move first, it kind of restricts us on what we can move next. Because now our numbers without the variable are all on one side, which means we have to move our x's to the other side, telling us we need to subtract 12x from both sides. Because our 12x minus 12x will simplify. leaving us with negative 200. 10x minus 12x, 10 minus 12 would be negative 2x. Questions on this so far? Last thing we need to do is what? We need to divide both sides by negative 2. Negative 2x divided by negative 2 would be positive 1x, or just x, is equal to negative 200 divided by negative 2. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 200 divided by 2 is 100. So we get x is equal to 100. So let's look back at the question. How many students must attend for Maple to be cheaper? And the answer is not 100. Because 100 told us when they are the same. Because at 100 students, Maple and Lakeside cost the same. So less than, so 99, yes? So 10 times 99 plus 500 would be for Maple. 12 times 99 plus 300 is for Lakeside. So Maple still costs more, yes? So let's go the other direction. Let's say 101. So which one's cheaper? At 100, Maple, is it cheaper at 99 or at 101? 101. Maple is cheaper at 101 students. Now there is a way to get there and not have to plug anything in. Because when we solve this here, we know 100's where they are the same, yes? So we know that's true. Now, before or after, we're going to have a change. One of them is going to be more expensive before 100, and then it's going to change afterwards, yes? So if we look at the starting amount with Lakeside and Maple, our y-intercept, our starting amount, we know that Lakeside starts out at 300. Maple starts out at, which one costs more expensive to begin with? Maple. So Maple's more expensive to begin with. So once we hit that 100, they're going to be the same. After it, they're now going to cross. So if Maple starts out more expensive, so at the meeting point, they're the same. After it, it's going to be less. Lakeside costs less before the intersection. After, it's now going to cost more. Or we can do exactly what we did. We plugged in points. We plugged in amounts to see which one's cheaper on either side. Both work. Now I can tell you this, especially on the ACT, 100 students would 100% be an answer choice. Because we solved it, we got 100, so that has to be the right answer. They're going to put it there just to see if you catch what the question's actually asking. That's not really a question of your knowledge, it's a question of how well you can read a question. Again, ACT is less a test of what you know and more how well you can take a test. Questions on any of this here? Questions on anything we've done so far? Oh, there we go. That is all we are doing today. So, look at the homework assignment on this here. So 3 through 8, find the equation of a line, interpret the slope. That's all it's asking. You're just finding the equation of a line, interpreting the slope. We're not having to solve for anything, find any other values. Just finding the equation, interpreting the slope in your own words. Number 9 is exactly what we just did with the problem venues questions. It's asking you about a newspaper, which these kind of problems have gone out because no one's really putting articles out in newspapers. But if you're going to put up a article, a notation is going to cost you so many words or cost per word. So you need to figure out which one's cheaper per word and how many it's going to take for them to be the same. Kind of like what we just did with Maple and the others. Question number 11 on the back, that other page. This is error detection. There's going to be a few of these I throw in as a homework assignment throughout the year. There is something wrong with their statement. There is an error there. Do not turn it in and say there is no error. There is an error there. So you need to figure out what they did wrong, so identify it. Again, just like with describing or interpreting the slope, I am not looking for exact words. I'm looking for you to be able to say or kind of explain what they did wrong. Okay? That's the main thing I'm looking for, is some explanation of how they did not, or whatever they did is wrong, or part of the process is wrong. And then fix it. Okay? Because the second one says it's 12, the slope is 3, so it's costing $3 per deal. They didn't actually find the slope, because the 2 points that are given are the point 333 and 0, 0. So if we actually found the slope on 12, 33 minus 0 over 3 minus 0, 33 over 3. They did not actually find the slope. They just plugged in the x value of the point given. The actual slope is 11, so they're earning $11 per hour. So actually fixing it and then saying what the actual answer is. A lot of these here, if you're not sure, kind of see what they're trying to do, solve it, and then compare back. If you have questions on any of them, let me know.